because, there are two things that are going on now in the economy. On the supply side, we're having a reduction in supply, right? Because if fewer people are working, well, they're not producing products that they produced in the past. They're not providing services that they were out there providing in the past. So the supply of stuff is going down, right? And certainly, a lot of the stuff that we were importing from countries like China, they're not making as much stuff anymore to export to us. They might consume it themselves. So we're not going to be able to import as much stuff. We're not going to make as much stuff. So there's less stuff. At the same time, there's more money, right? People have more money now, in many cases, than they had before when they were making stuff, right? Now they're getting checks for doing nothing. So you have more money and less stuff, right? Obviously, consumer prices are going to go way up. And, a way to look at that kind of in a microcosm is look what happened to airfares, right? In the weeks that immediately followed COVID-19, ticket prices collapsed. I mean, the airlines were selling tickets. I remember a guy was working for me was looking at tickets from San Juan to Boston. It was $3 to get a ticket. Now that's less than the Uber ride to get to the airport. I mean, it's like, this is crazy because nobody was buying tickets. So they were just giving them away because the planes were going to fly anyway and the seats were empty. Well, anyway, now I just looked, we were looking at buying tickets to go back to Connecticut, right? I've never seen them this high now because what's happened is the airlines canceled a bunch of flights. So now the supply of flights is down, right? Delta, which used to have flights every day, now there's only a few a week. So a lot of days, JetBlue used to have a flight directly to Hartford, which sometimes we could cancel that. So a lot of times you have to have, you have to go connecting. But I used to like to fly Delta Business. They had the best business class seat nonstop. And I looked, the last ticket I bought nonstop was $343 per ticket, which is not a bad price. And the coach was only like 125, 150. When I went back online on Delta, the cheapest business class I could find one way was over $1,800. And on those flights, even the coach seats were $1,600. 10 times what they were before COVID. So what happens is, even though the demand to fly went down, right? Not as many people were buying tickets, the supply of seats went down even more. So then if you really wanted to fly, it cost you. And so that's what's going to happen in this recession. Yes, demand is going to go down. Everybody is focusing on that. People are going to be unemployed. People aren't making as much money. People have to start rebuilding their savings now that they had a wake-up call. Hey, I'm broke. I can't pay my rent, right? So people are going to cut back on their spending. And so demand will be down, but supply is going to go down even more. So prices are going to rise even as demand falls. We haven't experienced that before. Well, we did it in the 1970s, but we haven't experienced it recently. That's what's been able to mitigate every downturn. Now, as far as the finance is concerned, see, I think this is the straw that breaks the camel's back for the dollar. That the reason we were able to get away with these monetary mistakes in the past was because the dollar survived as the reserve currency. And it's still surviving today. That's why we've been able to print trillions and trillions this year, and we haven't seen the dollar tank. But I think we're going to, cross the line, right, on how much debt the world is willing to allow and continue to accept the dollar as the reserve. See, the problem is you don't know where that line is until you've crossed it, right? Because it surprises me that we haven't already crossed it. But I think we're going to do it in this cycle. And it may be early in this cycle. It may be before the end of this year. Who knows? But we are going to pass the point of no return, and then the dollar is going to collapse. And then all the inflation chickens come home to roost. The prices really skyrocket. Interest rates soar. And, right now, interest on the national debt is about, $350 billion a year, because we're paying 1.5%, right? What happens when interest rates go to 5%? we'd be paying more on interest than we pay on Medicare. And we're so, in fact, if interest rates went to 10% by the time the national debt was at 30 trillion, which is probably next year, I think interest on the national debt would be more than the national defense, Medicare, and Social Security combined. In fact, we could be at a point where 100% of our tax revenue would be needed just to pay the interest on the national debt. We'd have to shut down everything else government did, which obviously we're not going to do. So we're going to default, right? Either we do it honestly or we do it through inflation. My bet is through inflation. So all these dollar-denominated assets become worthless, and so people need to do what I've been advocating as quickly as they can. I mean, I was telling people to do it too early, but better than too late, because people are about to get wiped out who don't have gold, don't have silver, don't have mining stocks, right? Don't have overseas assets where income streams are coming in currencies that are not the dollar, the currencies that are going to gain the purchasing power that the dollar loses.